Welcome to Roll for Geekiness and happy birthday, Dungeons and Dragons! If you did not know, Dungeons and Dragons is 50 years old this year, and I've been playing for most of that. So I was pretty excited when we started seeing some Dungeons and Dragons Magic the Gathering crossover cards. And I built my D&D themed commander deck around Sefris of the Hidden Ways. Hi, I'm Jonathan, and this is another episode of the Brewers Cauldron, the series where members of the Roll for Geekiness team talk about their favorite Magic the Gathering decks and the cards and combos that make them tick. Let's take a closer look at Sefris. Sefris of the Hidden Ways costs a white, a blue, and a black for a 2/3 human wizard with 2 triggered abilities. The first says, whenever one or more creature cards are put into your graveyard from anywhere, venture into the dungeon. This ability triggers only once each turn. The second is called Create Undead, but that's just flavor. And this says, whenever you complete a dungeon, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So Sefris works really well with one of the 2 very D&D themed mechanics that I included in this deck, Venture. Whenever something says that you venture into the dungeon, if you're not currently in a dungeon, you select one and move to level 1. If you're already in one, you move to the next level. Some of these levels give you choices of different rooms to move into. And occasionally, these choices might lead you down a path that excludes choices on the next level. So there can be a bit of strategy in your choices rather than simply deciding which one's best in this moment. A later variation on this mechanic only lets you venture into the Undercity. This is the only time that you can choose this particular dungeon. This is coupled with the initiative mechanic. And if you have that, you venture at the beginning of your upkeep. Initiative can be taken by dealing combat damage to the player that has the initiative. It's similar to the Monarch mechanic if you've ever played with that. Most of the effects of venturing into the assorted dungeons provide a little extra value, and some are pretty useful. But what can be more impactful are the various effects that many cards in this deck provide if you have completed a dungeon. Cards like Barrowin of Clan Undur, White Plume Adventurer, Safana Calimport Cutthroat, Ravenloft Adventurer, Rilsariel Kingpin, Tomb of Horrors Adventurer, Imoen Mystic Trickster, Precipitous Drop, and, of course, Sefris. By stacking many venture triggers, I can complete dungeons pretty quickly and rack up that value. The other very D&D themed mechanic that I include in this deck is Party. Party counts the number of creature types that you control amongst clerics, rogues, warriors, and wizards. To be clear, it doesn't care how many of each of these you control, just that you control at least one of each of these. So for example, if I have 2 clerics, 3 rogues, and 4 wizards, I still only have 3 creatures in my party. Creatures that have a couple of these types can count as either one, but not both at the same time. So cards like Shield Mage Elder, Imoen Mystic Trickster, Stonework Pack Beast, and Barakos Party Leader are great for their flexibility. Of course, Changelings, which are every creature type, like Irregular Cohort, are also great to fill out a party. Once I've built my party, there are some fun cards that take advantage of that. Some simply cost less for each creature in my party, like Deadly Alliance, Practice Tactics, Coveted Prize, and Seagate Colossus. Other cards get better for each creature in my party, like Ameria Captain, Concerted Defense, Archpriest of Iona, Barakos Party Leader, and Squad Captain, while some only trigger if I have a full party, like Nalia de Arnis, Nimble Trapfinder, and Linvala, Shield of Seagate. Of course, to fill things out, I've also included a few cards that just care about one or more of these creature types, like Multiclass Baldric, Harper Recruiter, Solemn Doom Guide, Raider's Spoils, Tabarak's Hope's Demise, Wizard's Retort, and Ixidor's Will. So, besides having these very D&D feeling mechanics, I expect you've noted that this deck has a solid creature base, card draw, removal, counter spells, and graveyard recursion, and all on a curve that's not too bad. While I did find it fun to play, I honestly don't think it really starts to hit its stride until it's completed that first dungeon. And since that can still take a couple turns after establishing a solid board state, even with a 3-drop commander, it still felt a little slow in building its value engine. Even with cards like Dungeon Delver and Hamapashar Ruin Seeker that double up those dungeon effects. So sadly, I don't play this deck anymore. As always, full deck list on Architect and linked below. This is another one of those decks where it's really useful to turn on the multiple categories filter so that you can see not only what role is the card fulfilling in the deck, but which of the mechanics it utilizes. But what did I miss? How could I have made this deck better? Let me know in the comments or just share some stories about your favorite D&D themed Magic the Gathering deck.